And if you're not down with that, then we've just got two words for you. Suck it.
What's up, everyone? Candyman from the Candyman Show here. It's another amazing night. And of course, I have my lovely co-host to my left. How you doing, Alice?
Not bad. Doing
Yeah.
good.
And
Feeling a little better.
you sound a lot better than last week. You sound a whole lot better.
Thank God.
So, I mean, it's almost away. You almost passed puberty.
Yeah.
That's how we talked last week. You're like, you're almost
Almost an adult now.
there you go. And of course, behind the scenes, we got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Duke. How you doing, Duke?
Doing good.
Yeah.
What's up?
How's your week been going so far?
It's been a week.
I know, right?
And it's only Tuesday.
I know it's only Tuesday and it's going, and it's like I'm already ready for the weekend. It's like, but we getting there, and of course tonight we have an amazing guest with us here. She is a fitness instructor. She former firefighter and mother, model. What else? What do
I
you not
have all
do?
the titles right
What do
now.
you not do?
I've lived a lot of lives.
Of course, we have Presley Pritchard. She's here in studio with us. Welcome. Thank you for taking some time and coming out here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, this is a long time in the making because it was about 6 years ago, somewhere like that.
Yeah.
You were on the cover of World Wilding magazine. Of course, you were right there in your firefighter uniform, looking badass. But of course, you know, we had some issues. You couldn't make it in, so we had to reschedule. Of course, 6 years now.
I know.
6 years later, you made it. How you been doing?
Pretty good. Just got off a long flight and back and forth to Montana right now, but I moved to Dallas, so yeah.
You still modeling?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes for some fitness companies.
Okay. So I know, you know, 6 years ago you were going to come in, but there was some issues going on. Couldn't really talk about it, but you hit us up. You're like, hey, I'm ready to talk. Of course, you were a firefighter, but you were also starting your own fitness coaching.
Yeah.
You were trying to help women to kind of get their fit on. What was it? You want them to bring out their inner baddie.
Yeah.
But of course, that didn't take for too long because you had issues with the fire department
Mm-hmm.
in your city. You want to talk a little bit about that? I mean, is it okay to
Yeah.
talk about it?
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm like the kind of person who will text you and be like, "Yeah, I'll text you later," but it's been 6 years, and I'm like, "Hey guys, it's me."
I forgot
I'm
to
just
respond to
texting
that.
you back. That's kind of what it feels like. But yeah, so I worked as a firefighter paramedic for 9 years. I got my medic in 2013 when I was 19 years old.
Oh wow!
So yeah, I've always wanted to do that my whole life. But that was my like original career. And then I kind of started getting into fitness when I started going through Fire Academy, because what I found was Fire Academy was super hard. It was like you had to do a 220-pound like dummy drag. You had to run a bunch of stairs. You had to have like the chainsaw and the ropes and all this stuff. So
yeah.
it was hard because I was like 120 pounds, like soaking wet. I was a tiny girl.
Oh damn.
Tiny. Even after both my kids. Like I was very scrawny. Like I was tiny, but I had like no strength.
Mhm.
So I started kind of getting into fitness after my second daughter was born, and I actually started kind of bulking up a bit, like
Mhm.
putting on muscle after a while. And I thought, wow, this is kind of cool. Like I'm seeing progress. And I was posting it on
Right.
Instagram at the time because my friends were like, oh, other women would probably want to see that and know what you're doing. And then it caught on, because
Yeah.
it was kind of the trend then. And I started gaining a following from it. And I was like, oh, I also love fitness now. So I just kind of thought as a firefighter, like, there's all these women reaching out to me. I should show them how they can get strong and be a firefighter, and then also have kids too on the side. Because
Right,
that was a
right.
big thing too,
Yeah.
was how do you have kids and you do all this stuff?
Right.
Like how do you find time for this? So yeah, that's when I started posting my fitness stuff, which actually was fine with the fire department because I started it before I was in, even before the fire department, that specific one.
Right.
I mean, I had been doing this forever. I was always an athlete.
Mhm.
But yeah, working for the fire department that I was working for, I worked there for a couple years, and they were totally cool with all the fitness stuff. They actually would share my posts to their social media
Right.
and
yeah.
share the workouts and be like, look at our firefighters. And I would create group workouts for us
Yeah.
to do. And they'd
Yeah.
ask me for help and they'd ask me to write them plans and share it, all this good stuff. And then I started gaining a following and it started catching on. And then there started to be like a couple, when you get really positive energy, there's also going to be negative.
Yeah,
Somebody's
of
going to
course.
complain about
You're always
something.
going to find someone that's
Yeah.
finding issues with
There's going to
something.
be something. So
Yeah.
that kind of started to happen as I started to grow in this. And some random strangers were like, oh, they would like write to the fire department and be like, do you think it's appropriate that she like has a picture of herself in a bikini on the beach, but she also works as a firefighter? And it would be this kind of stuff. And unfortunately, that's like what a lot of women deal with. And
Mhm.
so they started kind of catching on to it and it started becoming a problem, even though they have no social media policy. And I was posting fitness stuff,
Right,
but I
yeah.
also posted like when I would go on vacation and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
of course.
Yeah, and then it got to the point where I even had like some people. I remember I had this family came in to the fire department and they were like, hey, our daughter really looks up to you and it's her birthday and she's going to be turning 18 and she's going to be graduating and like you have been an inspiration for her because she
Yeah.
didn't really want to do anything with her life, but now she thinks she wants to do this.
Oh, yeah. She wants to
And
be
they
a
were,
firefighter.
yeah, and they were like, we don't really have a lot of money to like give her a gift. We printed out a photo of you. Can you sign it for her? And I was like, oh my gosh, like that was like so cool,
Wow,
right?
Yeah.
And they came to the fire department. They were part of the local community. And I
Mhm.
was like, that's awesome. And they said, yeah, we're going to give it to her on Thursday at breakfast. And I said, well, like, where are you guys having breakfast? It was right down the road. I said, well, I have Thursday off. I could just give it to her. And they're like, no way. That would be so cool. So I showed up and like surprised her and gave it to her and brought her the flowers. And she ended up writing me like a whole letter about how it
Oh,
like
no
changed
way.
her life and invited me to her graduation. But after that family left, the fire marshal, who pretty much is like the assistant chief there because they don't really have an assistant chief, came
Mhm.
down and he was like, what do you think this is, a place for people to come and get your autographs? And that's like literally just, he got so mad and like jealous in a weird way
Yeah.
that I got in trouble for that. And people like knew where I worked, they knew all this. So at that point he was like, if you're going to continue like posting your stuff, that's fine, but can you blur out the logo? Because we don't want people knowing like where you are.
Wow.
And they were getting, you always get a little bit of hate where like
Yeah.
some stranger on the internet's going to write the fire department and be like, I don't like the way that her hair looks. Like it's
Mhm.
inappropriate or some
Right.
crazy thing. So I said, yeah, that's cool. I could do that. So we had no problems. I was still posting my regular fitness stuff on my own spare time.
Mhm.
And it wasn't a problem at all. And then when they were going for their levy money, trying to get the community to give them money because they're not good stewards of their money, they have to keep asking for it every few years
Right.
so they can buy new things and then they run out of it.
Mhm.
They were like, yeah, this isn't really a good look. Like, we should have her stop posting and like delete everything. And this kind of all was a catalyst because one of the board members, who was like an older man, had gotten the email about this picture of me on the beach in California that
Right.
completely irrelevant to my work,
Right.
about how it's inappropriate that I'm a firefighter paramedic and I was posting those kinds of things on my page. And then it spiraled and there was a guy who was an educator. I didn't even know who he was,
Mhm.
but he commented on a photo of me and it was a photo of me like standing in the ambulance. And he commented on this photo of me and was like, this is so inappropriate. Her pants are super tight. And that's like, I can't believe that you would let her wear pants like that. These were my work issued pants.
Wow.
And he was like, it's inappropriate the way she was standing to the side like that. Like she did that on purpose. And this is such a bad look for your guys' like department. And this was brought up and I was written up for this occasion on multiple other occasions and they issued me men's pants. So this is like just kind of the way that I was being treated there,
Yeah.
but there wasn't very many like women. And I had even made it a point to show up to the public board meeting myself
Right.
and made a PowerPoint and addressed all of this stuff and said, and I brought up posts from every other man in there and said, well, how come so-and-so over here is posing in front of the truck with his suspenders and no shirt on? And I'm not
Right.
even doing that. I'm just
Yeah.
posting fitness content. And they were like, yeah, well, we're not talking about them. We're talking about you. And we want you to delete everything. And I said, well, I'll delete everything if you make every man in here do the same thing, because that's not fair.
Right.
And they were like, well, you have 5 days to delete it. And at that point, I was going out for surgery. I had a breast augmentation, which I didn't tell them. I was going out
Right.
for surgery and I was going to be on lifting restrictions for a
Right.
few weeks. Well, when I came in to bring them the paperwork a week after surgery and they saw that it was a breast augmentation, they're like, oh, yeah, you can't work. maybe if you would have broke your leg or something, but not for that. I'm like, okay, well, that's just discrimination then, because like you let other people with injuries and stuff like
Yeah.
be on lifting restrictions. I was on lifting restrictions when I was pregnant. And so they made me go home 6 weeks without pay and then decided to fire me on my first day back after I could have been
Damn.
working and like making money for those 6 weeks. So it was all this kind of like spiraled stuff where I was getting written up for all these things that were just like I wasn't doing anything wrong
Right.
at all.
Right.
I mean, just being written up for stupid stuff. I mean, they even said, well, one of the wives came and she complained that when she was going to have lunch with her husband, you were working out because there's a gym and there's like a window to the gym and we can work out when we're on shift. Well, you were wearing tight leggings. And I was like, okay, well, first of all, I could wear shorts if you would like. I could show some legs because that would be a little bit better, maybe. I don't know, show some skin. And I'm like, second of all, you guys don't issue us PT gear. And I was like, I can look into it for you and let you know how much it would cost
Right,
to
right.
issue us all PT gear.
Yeah.
And then they had this meeting saying that no one was allowed to wear leggings anymore in the department. And I was like, okay, I'll just work out in big sweatpants, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
And then the next morning, one of the other females who was like, you know, this like overweight older lady came downstairs in leggings at shift change and was just sitting there. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, you know, and these were things that I was always constantly like getting in trouble for and being written up for. So, yeah, it was this whole big ordeal. And then they ended up firing me. And I was like, okay, well, then I'm going to sue you. So
Right.
I did. I went and got an attorney and I got, this was 2019.
Right.
So I got an attorney and I went through all of that and we sued them for sexual discrimination and then also like sexual harassment as well, which is so funny because I claimed the multiple times that I felt like I was being sexually harassed in the fire department and nobody took it seriously. And it was all in the public board meeting notes.
Yeah.
Come to find out, I was talking to someone recently, one of the guys who was involved in it just got fired for sexual harassment 6 years later. And I was
Wow.
like, what the hell? So kind of funny, but yeah, so we ended up suing them and there's a process you have to take. You have to file for unemployment first
Mhm.
and then they tried to appeal unemployment with the state and was like, no, we fired her for a reason. And basically the state, we had to send in our evidence or whatever. And
Right.
the state said, no, you guys definitely fired her wrongfully. So we're going to award her unemployment for a year. And then they appealed that and they said, we want you to look at it again. So at that point, they lost again.
Mhm.
The third time, you can have 4 appeals.
Right.
The third time was with a judge on the phone, and you each have like 8 minutes to tell your
Yes.
side. They lost. The fourth time was with a jury. They lost. So therefore, they fought me to not have to pay me unemployment for wrongfully terminating me. And then the next point after that, so I got unemployment for a whole
Mhm.
year.
Yeah.
And at this point in time, too, while all this was going on, they were harassing me. They were trying to intimidate me. They were sending around messages on social media telling everyone to change their profile pictures to this picture of a clock that said 14:59 about my 15 minutes of fame were almost up. They were
Wow.
someone sent me the original message too where they were like, hey everyone, let's all like change our profile pictures and stand against her. I tried to apply at other fire departments, which I was told that I wasn't able to work there because I was blacklisted basically, which is illegal. But
Yeah.
it was such a small in Montana.
Right.
That's how it is. And they also posted about me publicly on their professional Facebook page. They basically wrote a letter and put it on there calling me a liar and saying that I was doing all of this for attention and followers. Meanwhile, I had all the paperwork of
Yeah,
every write
yeah.
up, everything. And the only thing that happened was with their letter was the whole community got on there and was like, this is psycho. Like, what kind of professional department would write this
Right,
about
yeah.
somebody? And so they were deleting the comments in the comment section. And then my friend kept on commenting and commenting. And then the chief's daughter, come to find out, she was running the page. She messaged my friend and was like, stop commenting on it. And she said, you shouldn't have posted it publicly if you didn't want the community to also be able to
Right.
disagree. So they turned commenting off and then they deleted the whole post. But not before my attorney and everyone got
Yeah.
screenshots of it, of
Of
course.
course.
And then they were going around trying to find everybody who's ever had an encounter with me to try to like talk badly. And they were trying to get students who really wanted to graduate to talk poorly about me.
Mhm.
Like saying, you know, students were saying that I was unprofessional. And I'm like, I've never even seen this person in my life. So just kind of crazy stuff. And then the next step after that was to file for the Human Rights Bureau.
Right.
So we filed with the Human Rights Bureau and then COVID happened. And we were in the process of the whole Human
Damn.
Rights Bureau thing. Well, with COVID happening, they set all the cases on the back burner that were non-essential. They were doing essential cases only,
Mhm.
and most people's court cases in COVID got put off for like a couple years.
Of course, yeah.
So that's kind of what happened to me, which sucked. But during that time, I'm not really the kind of person who's just gonna like sit there and be like, "Oh, poor me, I'll just live off unemployment," which was kind of nice during COVID. I was getting unemployment.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was like, damn, I should do something with my life. So I started my fitness business. Like I
Mhm.
went full time with the fitness and started making programs for people who were stuck at home with like no equipment,
Mhm.
and it blew up. And I ended up gaining like a mass following from that, and then just tons of clientele, and I ended up like making well over 6 figures.
Nice.
And then a couple years later, when I was like, I always kept in touch with my attorney. Can we do the case? Can we get back to the case? Can we back to the case? Because it wasn't about the money for me. It was about like the moral aspect.
yeah, of
Yeah.
course, yeah.
And about how like this happens to women all the time. And when this went viral, I was getting thousands of messages from women all with
Right.
the same stuff. And she told me, unfortunately, at that time that because it had been so long with the case, that I mitigated my own wages substantially. So there was nothing monetarily to sue them for. And I said, well, I don't want to sue them for money. I want to sue them because of the point. And
It's
she's
the
like, well,
principle, yeah, yeah.
she said, well, that's not really how the law works. And I was like, well, that sucks. Like, that sucks.
yeah.
So we kind of just had to like let it go. And it was kind of sucky because of the COVID thing is
Right,
what kind of
right.
set it all back. But yeah, so, that's kind of what happened with that.
Yeah, I know we talked a little bit because didn't the fire marshal start his own
Yeah.
little fitness
Isn't
thing?
that
And
funny?
he's taking
Well,
pictures
it's
of
not even
himself.
fitness, it's fire department related. He
Really?
started a TikTok and gained a following. Last I checked, he had like 90,000 followers on his TikTok, and I guess also on his YouTube or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because that was the account that was harassing me in comments, and I never looked at the comment because it wasn't
Mhm.
like a picture of him or anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Who is this like salty, weird person?
Yeah.
And then come to find out, I
It
go
was-
and look at his page. He's live streaming fire department stuff and making money off of his live streams. And his entire thing is about the fire department. And they were trying to say, because they didn't have anything, they kept coming up with reasons why they fired me, because at first it was because of my posts. But their attorney was like, well, you didn't have a social media policy, so you can't fire someone for that. Then they said it was because I was getting money from my sponsors. Like I was making money off of my position there. So I had every sponsorship that I was with for fitness related stuff write a letter saying that they've never once paid me or offered me that position because of I was a firefighter there.
Right.
So, and saying that I've never received a dime from any of them. So I had all these letters written and everything. Then they said that I was utilizing my position there for fame and followers. And then their last argument was that I was using taxpayer dollars to like make myself famous or something. Yeah.
Wow.
But meanwhile, you have this guy who literally is a leader and fired me and multiple other people for things.
and doing
And he
same
literally,
exact
except for
things.
his isn't even, it's just all fire department related.
Right.
So I'm like, not only are you utilizing the fire department and utilizing your position there and all of this, but you're doing it and it's okay for you to do it. But you're not going to get fired because of the good old boys club.
Right,
And that's
right.
just how it is.
So when they show the images, they're not blacking out where it's
No.
at, right? They're,
Not
you
at
You can see
all.
everything.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't care what images he's like, all he does, his whole premise of his account is to talk about like fire department stuff, to teach people to like, and he taught our academies and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, well, he's utilizing all of that. Do you think the taxpayers put him through the academy? Yeah, they did.
Right.
I'm like, so what's the difference?
Yeah.
But only his is worse,
Well, let me ask you this: the money that he's making from all that, is that going to him or is that going to the fire department?
Oh, it's going to him.
Wow.
Like I've made money off of
Wow.
TikTok before, like
Yeah.
recently, because I just kind of discovered the creator fund thing.
Yeah.
And Jordan, my boyfriend, has been doing like live stream stuff, and he can makes money off of like lives. It's
Mhm.
really easy to make money off lives on TikTok, which
Right.
I haven't tried yet, but yeah, he's making that money, and it's just funding himself, and he's just making his own little following now.
Damn.
Yeah, and I got on his live stream right when I found out about it, and I commented, and I was like, "Oh, how the tables have turned," and he was like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" and then blocked me, and I was like, wow, okay. Haven't talked to him for how many years,
Yeah,
and then blocked
yeah.
me. But they essentially tried to like gaslight me and shadow ban me and all this stuff from all the departments in the valley. And like, oh, don't hire her, because that's just how it is. And it's the good old boys club. It
Right,
really
right.
is. And it sucks. But
Now, is it? I mean, to this day, are you, if you wanted to, can you apply here? Like in
Oh,
the
I could go here for
Dallas-Fort
sure.
Worth
Yeah.
area?
I got out of that small town for a very specific like
Right,
reason, you
right.
know. Yeah, I could definitely apply. I still have my license and everything, but if I were to do fire, I'd probably have to go through Fire Academy here, which is
Mhm.
fine, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm at the point where I really want to do that anymore. Like I just dealt with so much drama
Right.
as a female in that it was so stressful. Like I was getting sick all the time. I never slept. I was run down. I was stressed, anxious, had like to go on Zoloft. Like that job was awful.
Damn.
And I loved the job. Like I
Right.
loved there was definitely so many great parts to it. Like I have made relationships with people whose lives that I have saved that I'm
Right.
still friends with to this day.
Yeah.
Just kind of, you know, crazy coincidence type stuff. And I'm like, I do love the job, of course, and the adrenaline, but I don't love the culture at
Right.
all.
Now, do you feel like, I mean, within that 6 years, do you think the time has changed? Do you think it's a little more
Mm.
lax? I mean, not as uptight or like as far as, especially with the whole good. I know there's always going to be the good old boy system.
Yeah. There's always going to be that. I mean, essentially, no, not from what I've heard from even just this coming out recently. I'm still getting messages from people. I've gotten messages from people all the time, like females who are like, "Hey, this is happening to me. Hey, this is happening to me," and it's all over. And it's law enforcement, it's fire
Mhm.
department, it's military. All my friends are in the like most of my friends are in the military
Right. Right.
or law enforcement or you know those types of jobs, and they're all deal with it all the time. So like every female, I'm like, if you're going into it, like just know that this is what's gonna happen. So and if they don't like you and you don't fit in with them and you're not kind of like hanging out with them in the after hours and doing all this stuff, I'm like, they're just gonna try to kick you out and they're gonna do it the way that they did to me. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of sexual harassment, a lot of that kind of stuff that goes on. It's kind of sad. But I'd like to think that we were moving forward from that. Like it's
Right.
2024, but clearly we're not because we still can't even get over like it's still like the minorities, like women and like certain races and stuff. Like, why are we still doing this stuff?
Right.
I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. It's 2024. Like, time for change. But
No, I understand. I understand tremendously. I mean, I know you're not looking into it anytime soon, but you're still focusing more on the fitness part.
yeah. Yeah, I kind of have like two passions. I do love the paramedic stuff, but my baby's 8 months now. So I just
Mhm.
had a baby and I'm like not really thinking that I want to leave her right
Right.
now. So with my other kids, it was a little bit easier, but I did miss holidays and I missed out on a lot of time with them because I was doing 24, 36, 48-hour shifts,
Right.
holidays, weekends, all that. And I'm like, you know, it's kind of nice to you'd get off like a really bad, horrible call and then go straight to like your kid's soccer game
Right.
like in the morning and you're like, oh, and you don't really process that. So it's kind of nice now doing my own thing and working for myself because I also I have employees that work for me now and I can say what's tolerated and like what's not tolerated, which is
Right.
really cool. And it's more of like an empowerment for women.
I got you.
Yeah.
No, I like that. I mean, I know being a paramedic as well, it does get a lot stressful. I have a sister who works at in a hospital, and like she doesn't really tell me out, but you could see, you know, just looking at her face,
Yeah.
like you could tell which when they're good days,
Oh
and
yeah.
when there's bad days, and then when there's like really bad days.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, you being a paramedic, how can you cope? How do you cope with stuff like that?
I think I always have done well with that kind of stuff. Like a lot of people will tell you that we use like humor a lot. I have very dark humor. I mean, you kind of have to in the job, you know.
Right.
But yeah, it's really not a job where you can kind of be sensitive. But I've also you're around men all the time. Like I also have three brothers, and
Mhm.
my dad worked as a firefighter. Like I have most of my family were first responders or military, so I just kind of like grew up in that. But I think some things there are that like you take those images and you kind of just put them in the locker, like in the back of your
Right.
head,
Right.
and you don't really talk about it. And it kind of just, I mean, I don't know if it ever comes back, but unless you think about it, I guess. But
Mhm.
for me personally, that stuff doesn't really bother me. There are things that have bothered me for sure, especially having kids now, like certain
Right.
calls where it like involves like children or like, you know, assault or things like that that have really bothered me. But I've also have seen a therapist the entire time I was working, which was very cool because I could tell him all this stuff.
Right.
And it was like a place to vent about it where I'm not like taking that home.
I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Alice, you also work in the medical field as well, right?
Used to.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore. Uh the doctors that I worked for, in my opinion, were not doctors that were concerned for patient health and were more financially concerned on what they could probably get out from their patients.
Right.
And so, and even then, you know, I've worked for some companies that were like owned by men, and you know, I was supervisor, and kind of like that sexual thing as well. Like, oh no, I really don't want to go hang out with you.
Right.
type
And then
of
if you
stuff.
turn them down,
It's an issue.
they're
yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah, like
they don't like you.
You get you get the benefits if you're the pretty woman versus if you're not as pretty, then you're kind of shunned to the side type of thing. So
They've kind of like put you in the back room or something like that.
yeah, and so like I've seen that where, you know, I'm like 5'8", 125. I did Muay Thai, all of that stuff. You know, half the time I was pretty fit, stuff like that. And somebody
Yeah.
who didn't look like me, but was brilliant, they were like, because they would prefer to take me to a doctor's meeting or take me to meet this or let's go do this or
Right.
have me meet patients or I'm in the front or, you know, all these different things. And then at the end of the day, it was issues where patients weren't getting their medications or the doctor was, I worked at an urgent care, the doctor was charging lots and lots of money for cash pay patients, and it was just ridiculous. And there were times, I remember one of the places that I worked at, like I had to go tell this patient that his bill was now like almost $700 that he had to pay before he walked out for probably half of the stuff that he really didn't even
Wow.
need. But they were like, let's do
Yeah.
this and let's do that
Our
and
healthcare
let's do
system
this
is
or
jacked.
let's give him like they have this issue and this medication is going to take care of it, but let's give them this backup issue because we're going to say it's going to take care of that, even though they
Right.
don't really need it. So now versus making $60, it's $120 for 2 medications. And so that's kind of what drew me away from that because I loved dealing with patients. Like I loved, you know, when I worked at an urgent care, I had just barely come out of school. I loved the people that I met there. I loved the providers, all that stuff. And like the providers would take me into the like emergency room in the urgent care and like teach me how to like do the numbing or like this is how you suture or like hey, okay, this is how you remove staples or this is how you do
Yeah.
it and pack the wounds. And like I loved doing all of that, but just other things were more like outweighed
Yeah.
that love for it where I was just like I don't want to do this. I've thought about going back some days and I'm just like
Yeah,
I don't
that's
have
exactly
faith.
how I feel too.
I don't have
It's like
faith
you're
in
like
it.
you're almost there. You're like, you know what? Nah.
The things that like I saw and dealt with and went through, I don't have enough faith to put myself in that position again.
Right.
And it's almost
Yeah.
like bartending, you know, bartending is a really like male type field as well. Oh, male bartenders are just better. They're just faster. They're just, you know, more this, more that, like
Yeah.
over female bartenders. Oh, female bartenders are there just to like be pretty and whatever. And, you know, we're just kind of like ditzy and stuff like that. But in the bartending world, like I have kind of a little bit more control
Right.
because there's really no corporate. There's really no like the bosses kind of let you. Hey, I've told bosses before, fuck you, and a minute later we're having a shot and talking it out, you know.
Yeah.
And so versus corporate, you can't do that. I
Right.
can't tell my
Yeah.
bosses F you because then I don't have a job. But
Right.
at bartending, like I'm also not a pushover either. You can be a guy and we can go head to head. And if you have an issue with it, I'm going to tell you go fuck yourself and stuff like that. And so that is kind of why I don't have too much of an issue with bartending. I can defend myself and
Right.
I'm not going to really have like this consequence where maybe I don't have a job
Right.
unless they're the boss is kind of like one of those buddy guys.
Right,
And
right.
they're, you know, but like the boss that I have right now, he's amazing. At One Eye Penguin, I love him. He's amazing. You know, if a customer is treating me like shit, I have the right to be like, screw you, get out.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not going to get chewed out for it. If somebody's disrespecting me at work, if somebody is trying to put me down, if somebody, you know, calls me out of my name,
Right.
I don't deal with that for my employees. I'm not going to allow anybody to come into my establishment and talk down to my employees. And if I defended myself, that's
Mhm.
my girl.
Right.
Good for you. And that's why I love where I'm at.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. I mean, you don't really see like female fire marshals. I mean, is that
Mm.
like a rare thing, or is that
I mean, I don't think so, but I do think it has a lot to do with it being that good old boys club where like some of the men, and I've seen this firsthand, is especially at the fire departments where we are at locally, the chief's son got promoted for everything. Like his son was like the lieutenant, the
Mhm.
captain. Like then he went and got a job at another fire department locally, and oh wow, he's an officer there too. And it's like one of those things where it's the favoritism, and
Right.
it is that good old boys club, and it's the people that you know. It's not because like if a woman got there, it's like she had to work her ass off to get there,
Mhm.
or you have to be related to someone, or you have to be doing something for them to get there.
right?
So it's like I don't know about here, but there it's not very common, you know.
Mhm.
Here it might be a little bit different. I've noticed that there's a lot of like female cops here and stuff, not as much like back home. They're
Right, right.
starting to, but it hasn't really been that way. Like when I first started this Explorer program in Whitefish, Montana, when I was 16, I moved to Montana and they didn't have an Explorer program. And I said, well, I want to make one then, you
Mhm.
know, at the high school. And that's what I did. There was only 2 females that worked in that entire department at that time. And neither one of them were officers. So it was like very rare to come by. And then in the Kalispell Fire Department, there was only 1 female, just 1. But now I think they have a couple,
Right.
especially ever since that stuff happened with me. Like they all started hiring females real quick, which was really funny.
Yeah.
Evergreen started getting all these females to come in, and then guess what? Their retention rate is like not very great because the turnover is so bad. The way that they treat, and they get these girls, these young girls that are coming in there, and they really want to be paramedics, they really want to be firefighters, and it's like they're too naive and young where they feel like they have to do stuff or be part of things that they know are not good.
Right.
And like that is one of the things that I don't like, is that they, and I was like that too at that age, you know, to
Mhm.
fit in. I was like, oh, maybe if I'll just like flirt, or maybe this, or oh, they're asking me to do this, I'll just do it, even though I know it's like not really, you know, right, because I wanted so bad to be in that position and to get that like, you know,
Yeah.
spot. And it's unfortunate, but like that's kind of how it is, really. But like as older me, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I was like,
Right.
too bad. Not doing that at all. And they didn't like me for that, and that's fine. They didn't invite me, you know, I wasn't the girl that would go with them to their little parties. I wouldn't go like out drinking with them. I wasn't someone that they could tell all about the last night stuff to. And the fire marshal himself asked me for nudes over Snapchat, and I told everybody about it, but I'm crazy. But I'm the crazy one. That never happened. I was like, oh, really? So who else are you doing this to? Because
Yeah.
I'm the only one who stood up for
Right.
stood up for myself.
Now, I mean, do you still get comments like from young girls that want to try to get into the?
Yeah.
What do you advise them? What do you kind of try to help them with?
So I try to like, a lot of times I'll still get messages, you know, a lot of people, they've been following me for a long time. And so
Mhm.
there's even girls who've been following me for a very long time, and they're like, hey, I'm finally going into this career. That's really cool. Like, what advice do you have for me? And I really tell them, I'm like, don't take any shit, because I'm like, I don't care what it is, what position you want, what it is that you want the most. Like, do not sell yourself short for anything,
Mhm.
because like don't change who you are
Don't
so
lose
that you
yourself.
could be, yeah, so that you could get this position or be this person that, you know, because at the end of the day you're going to look back and you're going to regret it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, also don't take any shit from anybody. Like don't let the guys say that kind of stuff to you. Don't let them make those small comments. Like fight back for yourself and stand up for yourself, because you're not only doing that for you, you're doing that for all the women behind you.
Right.
You know, and that's what I would want my daughter to do. I wouldn't want my daughter to go in there and just take these comments and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Just the small things all the time. Like I had said, when I got my boobs done, because I had breastfed 2 babies, it was, let us see your titties as soon as I came in. And I was like,
Damn.
no, gross, like go away, you know? It's like just the comments are like you would wear your pants and they'd be tight, or like you would bend over to like grab something and they'd make a comment about it. And I'm like, yeah, but if I did that to you, it'd be sexual harassment.
Yeah.
So like I always tell, the girls that are going into this, like, don't tolerate that shit, because who cares at the end of the day? Like, it's just a job. You can get another one, but if you're going to get fired and you're going to stand up for yourself. And then the other thing I tell them is I'm like, stand up for yourself, because there's a lot of women who have not. They've had these things happen to them and they've come to me and they're like, damn, I wish I could have been like you and could have stood up for myself. But they were so scared of losing their job or their friendships or whatever it may be that they don't stand up for themselves. And, and they don't stand up for the other people either, because everybody was all for me until the end, when they were all like, oh, you guys better change your profile pictures and go against her. If you're not with us, you're against us.
Right.
And all my friends turned their backs on me.
Yeah,
the
so
people who I had been with for years,
They fell through the bullying.
Yeah. Like they were all, oh my gosh, like I would come back crying, like after getting written up, and they'd be like, that's so awful. You don't deserve that. Like that's really wrong of them. That was awful. And then these are the same people who the next day changed their profile picture. And I just went on blocking spree and blocked everyone, because I was like, you're not my friend. You're not my friend. One of them, who I thought was like my brother, basically, I reached out to him and was like, I can't believe that you did that. And he's like, you don't know how it feels. I don't have modeling or anything else to like fall back on. And he was like, they were going to blacklist me and I'm trying to get this job right now, this, promotion. And I had to do it. And I said, yeah. I was like, no, bye. Blocked.
Yeah.
Like, you're not my friend. So it's like these people who also saw that there were these things going on didn't speak up for me.
Right. So I have to ask you, if there's a woman that's dealing with that, who can they contact? Who can they talk to maybe just to get it started, to like, look, I don't feel comfortable with what they're doing, what they're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, who would the right people?
Well, I always say like you have to go through the chain of command.
Right.
And the thing
But
is,
it's
though,
gonna be difficult because most of them are the same people that are.
Yeah. When you do that, oftentimes it gets swept under the rug and dismissed. And so, like, okay, if that doesn't work, go to the next person and the next person, the next person. But the chief is not like the see-all of the department. Like, they have a board that runs them. And I don't know, like, how it is down here. Like, I know certain places are, like, government funded. Certain places like them, they rely on, like, tax levies or, like, the taxpayers. But they always have an overseer. There's always an overseer. So I'm like, go to the board. And for me, I was like, I'm going to the media. Like, I don't care.
Right.
Like, everyone's going to know that I came to you guys and you did nothing.
Right.
And that's when I'm like, okay, reach out to your like local politician people, especially like the ones who are women, if nothing's being done about it.
Right. Right.
So.
No, I that's definitely, because I mean, I'm the oldest, but I have 4 younger sisters. And I'll be damned if I let anybody try to talk. And I have a baby niece, like, so I was like, yeah, that's not going.
Unfortunately, though, a lot of men like don't have that, and it's just I find that like most men who go into that kind of stuff are on like power trip issues. Like the guys who treat women like that. Yeah, they're just like on some weird power trip.
Yeah, and that sucks, because it's like my pop, he was in the military, so like when he'd go out, when he retired and became reserve. He would go out on maneuvers and stuff like that. So he'd always say, "Hey, take care of your mom, take care of your sisters." Like that's how I was raised.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, a lot of these people, a lot of the guys don't have younger sisters or sisters, period. Yeah. And like they probably just go with what maybe their dad says or maybe what their friends say. So it kind of sucks. I need to get y'all's head out y'all's asses.
If I was raising sons, well, you have boys, so see, I'm confident in this. Like, there are some people where I'm like, please don't.
Posted a video where
I saw that.
It's a mom and it's her son and the girlfriend, and he tells the girlfriend to like go get something out of the car, and the mom's like, she walks out, why are you talking to him? And he's like, nobody gives a shit about that bitch, mom. And she's like, excuse me, what do you say? What did you call her? And he's like, bitch. And she starts calling her. She's like, come here. And she goes, tell her what you just called her. And he's like, mom, this is between me. Tell her what you just called her. And he goes, I called her. And she grabs that water bottle and she just slams it into it. She was going to go. And I was like, if one of my sons ever, like, I would beat their ass. Like, with all the stuff that we have to go through and this and that, I'm not going to be one of those moms. Like, yeah, maybe I'll like kind of look out for my boys. Like, hey, I don't think this is the right
If they're being
person for
mistreated,
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
if it's a bad relationship and
Yeah.
it's something that,
Mhm.
you know, but I'm not going to be one of those moms where maybe she's awkward, maybe she doesn't talk, maybe she and they
Right.
just treat them like shit because
Yeah.
I went through those phases. I
Mhm.
was very awkward. I was
Yeah.
very introverted, and I was one of those people that could be at a table full of people and I'd just sit there and watch people because I
Right.
wasn't comfortable. And a lot of times I feel like I've been left out in a lot of things. Was treated badly. I was treated weird. You know, I was cheated on, all of that stuff. And I'll be damned if I allow my
Mhm.
son to treat somebody
Mhm.
badly, to call them out of their name, to,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
especially to somebody that they're supposed to be caring about
Right.
and loving.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't act disrespectful, you know?
Yeah.
And the good thing with like my husband and I, we don't call each other out of, out of our names in front of the kid. Like we try not to argue in front of them. We try not to have any
Mhm.
issues with them. If dad says no, then I say no. If
Right,
I say
right.
no, then
Mhm.
dad says no.
Yeah.
You have to kind of present this united front
Right.
in front of your children
Right.
Mhm.
and not be like, oh, well, I love mommy better or oh, I love daddy better.
Right.
And even if they do say that, that's not how we're doing this.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, your father loves you very much or your mother loves you very much, and we're doing what's best for you.
Mhm.
And as they grow older, I want them to be respectful. I don't want them to be those guys in the workplace that's
Mhm.
like, oh, show me your tits, show me your ass, or
Yeah.
I'm better than you because I'm a man and you're a female and you're less than
Right.
us.
Right.
Well, I agree. Yeah, there are certain things where men and women are different. I'm not going to go over there and pretend like I'm, stronger than every single man out there and I can fight whoever.
Mhm.
There's obviously a difference in strength.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm not crazy like that. But if I can bartend just as quick and just as fast, I don't want to hear about how men are better in this field.
Right.
If I can go and do sales and sell just as much as somebody else, or if I can go and meet the requirements that it has to be met at a job, or if I can do the lifting, or I can do this, or I can do that, I don't want to be treated differently when I've met all the same
Mhm. And
requirements
paid
that
less
you
for
met.
it too.
Yeah.
Because they don't even pay women the same.
Right. Yeah, and that sucks too. Also, I mean, like I said, I have 4 sisters, and yeah, the pay rate is a little different from
Yeah.
what the guys
Crazy.
made, but they
Yeah.
also know how to speak up. Like like you, they're
Mhm.
very
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah.
Like my pop pretty much
That's how
told
you
him, hey,
have to
don't
like raise.
don't take no
Yeah.
shit.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you give respect, you get respect, you give respect. If
Mhm.
they disrespect you,
Mhm.
hey, you don't have to
Yeah.
respect them
And
for
I feel
anything.
like sometimes that's the thing. When you're younger, you're more, because I was there.
Mhm.
I was super naive. I was dumb. I
Oh
look
yeah.
back and I'm like,
I
why
know.
did you ever let him talk to you like that? Like, why did you just let those comments fly by?
Right.
Why didn't you say something? Why didn't? And
Mhm.
when you're younger, I feel like sometimes we don't know what to do. We don't know how to handle it. We don't know who to go to. Like, I can go to somebody else and that somebody else is friends with the other dude. And then
Well,
it's
it's
just
also not
another bigger
fair
problem.
too. Yeah.
And now you have 2 people messing with you versus 1,
Right.
or,
Mhm.
things like that. And as I've gotten older, I think what you also learn is like when you start speaking up and defending yourself, you get to the places where, I've been told like, oh, you're a popular bartender, but you're not popular enough. And I'm like, because I don't fucking care about what people think
Mhm.
anymore.
Mhm.
I'm not going to go and kiss anybody's ass anymore.
Or I don't need to show my boobs to
Yeah.
make more money. Like.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And when
Right.
women ask me, oh, like, I want to be a bartender and this and that, and I'm like, you're young. Be ready and be prepared to lose yourself. Because that's a thing as well. Because in certain, things, it's about looks as a woman in a specific
Mhm.
industry. In bartending, some places want you to wear the thong and wear the bra and do the makeup and do this and do that and post the pictures and take this and be here
Right.
and go out and drink and go out and be there and go out and do this and go out and do that. And it becomes this spiral, and that's where the alcoholism comes into play. And that's where, you're drinking during shift, you're drinking after shift, and the next thing you know, you're walking out of the bar and it's 7 o'clock in the morning. And that's a lot of things that I tell women that ask me, I want to be a bartender. There's a point where you may lose yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever be afraid to defend yourself.
Right.
Don't put up with the shit that people make you go through. And you will get to somewhere where you're respected. And you don't have to put up with the bullshit. And you don't have to go through that. And maybe you're less popular than everybody else, but who gives a shit? Because you're not being fake.
Right.
That's true. I've always had a lot of people be like, on Instagram, they're like, when you gonna make OnlyFans? I'm like, never.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, like, no hate to anyone who, like, some of my friends have OnlyFans, but like,
Yeah.
for me personally, I can't be over here demanding respect and then doing that kind of stuff. You know
It's
what I
Right.
mean?
okay not to do it.
Like, but for me, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I feel
Like-
like if you look a certain way or if you act a certain way, it's like expected of you these
Yeah.
days and age. Like, oh, you're not going to do the OnlyFans? Why not? Do you think you're better? No, it's okay
Like,
for me to
morally,
not
I
have
wouldn't be
that
able to
want.
feel
Right.
good about
Yeah.
it.
It's
Yeah.
okay for me to not want that. Like,
Right.
why is it fucked up that I don't want to do that? Like, you're not going
Mhm.
to guilt trip me into it.
Right.
Exactly like she said. No hate to anybody that does it because I have numerous friends that does
Mhm.
it and they make bank.
Oh yeah.
But that's not who I am,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Same. And by saying that, it's not like, oh, I'm better than you because, like, what are you better than us? Because that's who you are. I'm like, no, but I also have children and I also have girls. And I'm like, they're on the internet, you know, they don't need to be seeing any of this stuff. Like, also as like a Christian and just different things that, like, that doesn't fit me morally at all.
Right.
So, like, no hate to anybody, but I'm not going to do that. But it's the fact that it's always the men who are like, when you going to make OnlyFans? And I'm like, scram. Like, gross. Go away.
Yeah.
Like, you go make one then.
Yeah.
Like, see who subscribes to you. Like,
oh my god.
because it's never females like that. It's never females that talk to females like that. And I've noticed too, like on a lot of my posts and stuff, it's mostly like men. Men are mean. They're the ones who are commenting on my posts.
It's
It's
almost like
not
that-
really usually women.
Yeah, it's almost
It's
like
usually
that
men.
whole,
Mhm.
middle school, high school. You tug on the girl's head,
Yes.
like maybe she'll take notice
Yeah.
of me.
They'll be
You'll
like,
talk trash, and then she'll take notice of
what
me.
was the comment recently? It was like, your lip filler and your tattoos and your muscles make you look like a man or something. And I was like, do you sleep better when you like go online
Yeah,
and like tear
and
down a
talk to
woman and
somebody.
like talk about that?
Yeah, but
like,
there's
say
always
that kind of
something
stuff.
that's
It's
wrong
just-
with them. Like,
yeah, it's
my
weird.
boss from my day job is like hurt people. There is
Mhm.
something that is going on with them that they have to feel this need to like project that onto somebody else.
Mhm.
Because I'm not gonna lie, I love my day job. I love working
Yeah.
from home, but there has been in the 2 years that I've worked there that there has been 2 phone calls that did get to me and I did have to take off my headsets and I went and cried because I was like, wow, like the negative energy that I could feel
You're,
through
like,
that
shaking?
phone
Yeah.
in screaming or just calling you names or like I heard a racial slur I didn't even know existed and it was towards Indians because we have a collections department that's outsourced.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I didn't even know that was a
Mhm.
thing. And so I got called something I never heard of. And so like it's just it's crazy. Hurt people.
I couldn't imagine like just going on the internet just to like tear people down. Like, what's the reasoning?
And that's the scary thing. It's just like you're doing a good thing.
Yeah.
You're getting a lot of it, but like,
I know. There's so much hate on the internet.
There's always that
So
1 or
much hate.
2 or 20 or 30 people
But
that want to.
Oh, so much hate. I know. Or you could do
That's the thing
everything
that's
right.
come with it now. People can be
Yeah.
hateful freely. People can
Literally
do
hate
these
social
things
media.
so easily now and not have to pay
Mhm.
consequences because
Yeah.
it's not like, back in the day, if you said something stupid to somebody, you might get hit in the face.
Oh.
Now I can say this behind my keyboard or
Mhm.
behind the screen of my phone
Yeah.
and I don't have consequences. Oh no, somebody blocked me, big whoop. Oh, I got to them. Haha.
And what sucks is like they only see what you post. They don't know your story. They
No,
don't
not
know
at all.
Nothing.
People
They
will
don't
say
know
that
nothing
stuff
about
all the
you.
time.
And it's like they feel like, oh, I know you just because from seeing your post. You don't know shit.
No, I'm like, no, don't even get me started on that with the whole my reel went viral, the one where I had my baby in the carrier because I take her down to the apartment gym complex when sometimes she just screams. And I put her in the carrier and I walk on the treadmill. It's too hot outside. I walk on the treadmill at a slight incline and I took a video of it and I was like telling moms how they could still, still work out and do stuff even though their baby's like crying and they can't make it to a gym. And I had there was people in the comments that were like, you're such a horrible mother putting your baby in danger like that. Like somebody said somebody have CPS come and take away her children. And I was like, what? Like
negative comments
that's what I'm
for
saying.
things that I see
I'm
these
like,
days.
what?
And it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah, you just can't win. But I'm still post my stuff and I'm like, I don't even give them the time of the day, It's like silence to me is just better than anything.
And it's
feeding
hard
into
for people to continue doing what they love because I know it gets exhausting from time to time just seeing the constant.
Even with the fire department stuff,
bullshit,
the posts, most of it was like 99% of it was great feedback. But then you still have those haters that are, whether they're jealous or they're insecure, I don't know, or they don't want to see that, just those comments. But
yeah, well, look, I mean, this was the main reason we wanted to get your story out there because people need to know this. I mean, it's an ongoing issue, and it's like, will it ever stop? I hate saying it, but not anytime soon.
Especially not if nobody stands up to it or takes action.
Yeah.
Because they're not.
Yeah.
I've been encouraging people. I'm like, write letters to them. Write letters to the board. Like, talk about how this makes you feel. Like, be mad about it. They're asking everyone to vote for them on a levy, which I'm pretty sure is like tomorrow or something they decide. I don't know, like the deadline. But I'm like, they're asking everyone to vote for them. And if the taxpayers knew the stuff that went on there, nobody would vote for them. Yeah. Why give your money to that kind of stuff?
And what was crazy what you were telling me about your story is like, they thought the community was going to have their back.
Oh, I know.
And it's like,
well, for me too. If I saw that,
yeah,
that would be like someone suing Dunkin' Donuts saying they were sexually harassed, and then Dunkin' Donuts turning around and making the woman out to be like a psychopath and a liar. But everyone's going to be like, "What?
You're stupid."
Yeah, like you're supposed to be a professional department.
But it's crazy because depending on the cases, and people get away with it.
I know they do, and
Victim
he's getting away with it.
Like.
They're not going to fire him.
And that's
like what? Doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah. Candy sent me the message as soon as you messaged for the first time. He was like, "Hey, I want you to take a look at something." I was like, "What's going on?" And then I started reading everything you had wrote, and I was like, "Man," and I was like, "I don't know." And I sat there and I was like, I literally sent him a text message. I was like, fuck it, let's do it. Because why not? Like, whatever comes from it, whatever doesn't come from it, bad or good.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit. Let's do it. Because people have to
the community
get heard.
does need to know that it's an ongoing issue. It's not going to stop until people open their eyes and
speak up.
And speak up.
Yeah. And so that's not going to happen if people are scared to get you on these platforms and get you to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so that's why I literally said, I was like, fuck it, let's do it. I'll message her right now.
See, that's how I've been since I got fired. I was like, okay, even before I got fired, they were like, delete all your stuff or this. And I was like, no, fire me. What are you going to do? Like, cool, I'll sue you. I'll let everybody know what you did. And I did. And I was like, I'll drag your name through the mud. I don't care.
And that's what's crazy, too.
Like, I don't
they thought
care.
The court system was going to have their back. And
that's what I'm saying. Like, COVID screwed everything up for
I think
everybody.
by like the second, maybe the
third.
third.
You might want to.
You would have got a point across.
Why do you even get four times? Like, why do you even get 4 times?
Honestly, I know what they figure they have the money that you will give up because you can't afford it so much. You know what I mean? Because it does cost to constantly get out there, pay for your attorney, pay for the court fees and all that. They wanted you to give up. They wanted you to quit, but you stood strong and you know.
Then damn COVID.
COVID screw things
Yeah,
up.
I mean, like I said, like I'm not. That department was not going to give me
Yeah.
like a great settlement.
They
Like it wasn't
couldn't
going to be a
even
money
do,
thing.
like a defamation of character. or
That's
anything
what I
like that
wanted to do.
after COVID.
But you have to sue them for like basically in the court's eyes, it's a waste of money and time if you're not suing them for money because it's like the attorneys have to be paid. Somebody has to be paid at the end of the day. And I said, what about my mental health? Can I sue
Mhm.
for like emotional damage or something?
yeah.
Because this shit has followed me around for years.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't sue for
I'm
that.
just surprised, like they couldn't do because
And I
that's
think
all
also
what it
because it
also
had been
boils
so
down
long
to.
too. It had been a
Defamation of
couple years.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
They
Yeah.
posted that shit on social media on their
Uh-huh.
freaking business page.
Yeah.
Like
And then deleted
what
it because
more-
everyone was not. It was not giving
Yeah,
what
They
they were
weren't
trying.
giving-
to
how what
Dude.
more do you need for
Yeah.
that to literally
Yeah.
that is the
And
definition.
then they
of
also
defamation.
tried to reach out to news outlets and was like, "We want to do a story," and everyone was like, "Get out of here! Like, no one wants your story.
They don't-
No one
yeah.
wants your side of the story.
Yeah. Because it's not true.
No, not at all. I'm like,
Yeah.
I have paperwork and
Yeah.
proof. Like, I don't know what more you guys need.
Yeah.
Like, I've been following along on the journey forever, like taking everyone with me. So, you know,
Right. Well, look, I know we're getting close to that time. I do appreciate you coming in and talking to
yeah.
us.
Thanks for
I
having
mean, most definitely, we need to get the word out. We need to let the people know what's happening, what's going on, and it's an ongoing issue.
me. Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, this is a start to maybe things changing.
Yeah, or even women like standing up
Yeah.
and speaking up
Yeah.
Talk about
within.
it.
If you can't change the system, then you got to change, what
Yeah.
you're doing about it. So
Yeah. I mean, but before we go, I mean, if you're okay with it, I mean, can you put out there, if anybody wants to reach out and talk to you, or maybe,
yeah,
I mean,
for
how
sure.
can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm mainly just am on Instagram now. It's presleykp.fit. I do fitness coaching obviously, but also anything like this, you guys are welcome to like DM me, message me. I'll also clarify that the fire department, Evergreen Fire Department, is in Kalispell, Montana, not the Colorado one. There's another one too.
Oh,
So a
okay.
lot of people were like writing
Right.
and
they're
I
like,
didn't
"We don't
know,
nothing
and they
about
were
it."
like, "Oh my gosh!" So they contacted the other fire department. But like, if this is a story that like gets to you, and you're like, "I want to do something about it," like write letters to the board, like write letters.
Mhm.
So
No, I appreciate you, and hopefully we can get you to come back again,
yeah,
because this is, like I said, we can talk some more. we have some deep conversations. Maybe bring a couple of other
Yeah.
spokespeople to come out and maybe try to do a roundtable. See what we can work out. Try to help the community. Try to help
Mhm.
ladies and minorities, and what I mean. Try to
Yeah.
defend themselves
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah.
still stuff like this, because people are afraid to speak out,
Yeah.
Mhm.
to lose their job, especially now because everything's so freaking expensive.
And then to be harassed about it
Yeah.
forever. And
But there's so many. Here's the thing, like with people being so scared, even if it's not like what you want in that moment, there's so many different opportunities to
Mhm.
Oh,
at
yeah.
least have you make
For
it go
sure.
by for you to like put up with shit like that.
Mhm.
Yep. But as you know, when you're a young woman, you're like, oh, I'll never have anyone else like this, or I'll never have another job like this, or whatever. But
No, you
definitely
will.
not true.
There's
Not true.
always bigger and better things.
I'm like, trust me, my
Yes.
resume at this point is very long.
I've done
because I
everything.
don't
I've
put
done
up with
everything,
shit.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've done medical. I've done
That's
retail. I've done
going back to
sales.
full circle to the beginning when
Yeah.
you're like
Mhm.
mom, model, fitness. I'm like, yes, because it's not just the one thing for me.
Right.
Mhm.
Like,
Well, look, before we go, you got any shout outs real quick?
no.
No?
Who am I shouting out? Jesus, my one and only king.
Alice, you got I know you don't.
That's typically my answer.
My
Like,
answer,
Really?
my husband, thank you for letting me do this at night. Watching the
Yeah.
kids.
Well, look, I appreciate you taking the time to coming out
Yeah,
and talking
thank
to us. Hopefully, we can get you in. Anytime if you got anything else coming out, or if you want to talk about
Yeah.
anything else, you're more than welcome to come back. All right, you open door policy. Come
Cool.
in. Just let us
Thanks.
know. Hit us up. Like, hey, I'd like to come in.
Yeah.
We'll set up a date, and you're more than welcome to come in.
Now you have
Cool.
the
I
number. You can
appreciate
just
you.
Thanks,
text.
guys. Oh, yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course, I want to thank our guest Presley. Of course, big shout out to Alice. Of course, the man behind the scenes, Mr. Duke. Thank you all. Hey, appreciate everybody watching. Hey, don't forget, keep following us on our show page on IG, Facebook, keep Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're on all the streaming sites, and comment, hit
All
us
three
up.
of us are on there.
Yeah.
So any one of us will answer.
Yeah.
If you have any questions for anybody specific, just let us know.
Yeah. And if you want to have something to talk about, if you got something that you want, an issue, hit us up, and you'll get a response from us. Once again, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you all next week. Have a great rest of the night. Peace.